Hello everyone, Mr. Corrigan here. Today's Cristo Rey podcast focuses on the issue of human trafficking. We have chosen not to begin with the usual theme music due to the serious nature of this topic, and listener discretion is advised. So now I'll hand things over to regular podcast host, Ujil.
March is Women's History Month, and although we don't want to forget that human trafficking does affect men and boys in large numbers, it is true that this serious issue affects women and young girls at a disproportionate rate, not only around the world, but right here in our own community. Ohio ranks 4th in the nation for human trafficking cases. In order to help combat this, Social Justice Club and UNICEF have joined forces to bring us a very special presentation from Iris DeLawrence of Gracehaven, an organization dedicated to wiping out human trafficking in Central Ohio. Now, without further ado, here's Iris DeLawrence.
So my name is Iris DeLawrence, and I am with Gracehaven. We are a nonprofit organization here in Central Columbus. It was founded in 2008 by Dr. Jeff Barrows. And in 2012, we had our first group home open in Bellefontaine, Ohio. And then we later moved our group home to Central Columbus around 2018, 2019. And we are under the Youth for Christ leadership. So at Gracehaven, we provide care for both boys and girls who are at high risk of being trafficked or who have been trafficked and sexually exploited. We provide comprehensive client-based services for them. And currently our group home houses girls between 12 to 20. It depends on 12 to like 17, 18 years old, just depends on the case itself. And we also provide prevention education for adults and children as young as K through 12. When human trafficking, like when we hear human trafficking, what images come to mind? A lot of what came to mind was people being kidnapped, being held in cages, being tied up, the creepy van in the neighborhood. That's always a popular one. And sadly, it is true, but not for the majority. And the film Taken, which is what everybody pretty much thinks of when they hear human trafficking. He's a father that's ex-special forces and goes overseas. The reality that human trafficking isn't something where you have to go overseas. There's no traveling that's involved, that it doesn't have to be involved for it to be human trafficking. Human trafficking happens in our backyards, like in front of our face every day. The signs just look different. So a lot of people think that it's stranger danger. People think that only women are trafficked, males are trafficked as well. And traffickers can be parents, foster parents, friends, your peer groups. And so the reality of human trafficking is that it is making someone perform some kind of labor or service, including a sex act, through force, fraud, or coercion in exchange for anything of value, like food, money, drugs, a place to stay. And a lot of this also includes commercial sex, which includes pornography and strip clubs. All commercial sex involving a minor is legally considered human trafficking. And all commercial sex involving an adult is human trafficking if the person providing the commercial sex act is being forced to do so.
Hi guys, Jalil here. This week is the first full week of Lent. Here's Miss Gelich with a special reflection for this week.
Lent is a time when we recall how much God loves us. God underwent so much pain and suffering because God wants us to have a chance to return to Him, a chance that was lost by us through original sin. Jesus comes so that He can redeem us, so that He can return us to the state of the original holiness that God intended for us. God wants to be with us, and Lent is a perfect time to think about how much Jesus loves us. During this time, we should reflect on Jesus praying in the Garden of Gethsemane and the pain Jesus undergoes, thinking of all the sin that he's about to take on, about all the pain and suffering that exists in this world. We should never forget that God is the one that reaches down to get us so that we can again be with him in eternity. Take some time during this Lent to be grateful and thankful to God for all of the grace that he gives you every single day, for all of the good things that happen in your life, and thank God even for all the pain and suffering that happens in this life, because we know that this life is not the end of the story.
We also talked a little bit about terms related to human trafficking, like the game, the lifestyle. It's a subculture of prostitution, branding. That includes youth being tattooed or carving. They're it's very symbolic of being someone's property. And then there's a term as bottom or bottom girl, and it's a female that's appointed by the trafficker or the pimp to supervise, punish, and recruit other girls. And now I think with bottoms girls like you, it sounds like she's not a victim, but she most likely, that's how she got into the lifestyle. And so when you really think about, you're already under this person's, hands, like you're in this lifestyle, you can't get out, you feel like you can't get out. And so this person, I should say, is saying, okay, well, if you don't recruit for me, then I'm going to make your life harder. Like, I'm going to make you do like even worse things. And so when you're put in that position where it's like, well, if I don't do this, like it's going to be worse on me, and I don't want that. So a girl or a guy being forced to recruit is a sense of survival as well. And then we do have a term that is called survival sex, when someone is in a situation where they provide sex or a sexual act because they need food, clothes, or a place to stay. You can see a lot of that with runaways. And oftentimes a youth believes, since they chose to trade sex for something of value, they believe that they aren't victims of sex trafficking, and that is false. Also, why and how does this impact us here in Ohio? Ohio's fourth highest rate is the fourth highest state. Last time I presented, actually, we were the fifth. We've actually moved up in place. We've done some reviewing of statistics recently to see where we are on the map, and we've actually moved up a spot. The average age for someone to be trafficked is 12 to 14 years old here in the US. And as many as 1 in 5 youth who run away from home become victims within 48 hours. And so we have over 1,000 confirmed cases of children that have been identified as being sexually exploited in Ohio in 2019. And so when you think of those 1,000 confirmed, that's not counting the 4,000 runaways a year. So you've got a confirmed number, and then you have this other number, this 4,000 youths out there that are at risk of being trafficked. And so as time goes on, and as cases get reported, then that number will go up of confirmed cases. We are in a hot spot where, our highway systems, we can get anywhere within a few hours. We're the 15th leading state for the number of strip clubs. And currently, children are living in poverty in Ohio.
Hello, Cougars. It's Helen here from CRC UNICEF. Are you eager to share your childhood story? CRC UNICEF is bringing you the opportunity to express your fundamental and substantial experience as a child. What an amazing thing, right? Well, not only that, some of the best creative stories will be showcased on our Instagram, and if you are 9th, 10th, or 11th grade, you will get 3 extra credit summative points for your social studies class. And if you're a senior, you will get at least 3 extra credit summative points for your English class. Only 1 submissions from each student will be accepted, and submissions will last through April 8th. Submissions will be collected through Google Form, which will be emailed to you, and if it's physical, you can drop it off in Miss Matt's room, room 209. Submissions can be anything from paintings, poems, videos, and essays. Get creative with it. And we're excited to see your story.
How do we know if someone is a safe person? Safe people respect your boundaries, they apologize and change their behaviors and their actions, and they're trustworthy. It's different when you have conflict with someone, in a friendship or any type of relationship. You can have conflict, but there's never this gut feeling afterwards of, I feel unsafe. I feel like I can't trust them. If you have that feeling with someone currently in a relationship, someone in your life, that is not a safe person. Unsafe people demand your time and your attention and your compliance, meaning they feel that you need to go along with everything that they say. They push your boundaries to see how far you'll go, even if you're uncomfortable. They're going to push your boundaries. They're going to refuse to be wrong when there is conflict. Healthy relationships, there are conflicts, but healthy relationships with conflict include conversations. It includes both parties, acknowledging that, we both play a part in this, and we have to talk this through, and we do self-growth. So identifying a trafficker, it could be someone that you are friends with. It could be a sibling. It could be your parent, whether they are your biological, your guardian, your foster parent. It can be a boyfriend or a girlfriend. A lot of cases, we have youth that are trafficked online, and so catfishing. So for instance, here's Susan, who's actually a 42-year-old man posing as a 15-year-old girl online. And so that falls as an easy trap, because you think that you're talking to someone specifically, and then they turn out to not be who they are, but you don't find out until you're face to face with them. And also gang members. Gangs are very notorious for trafficking. And so when we talk back about boyfriends or girlfriends and relationships, that relationship can start off feeling like a good relationship, kind and thoughtful, spending time together. You work up to the I love yous, and then there begins to be more and more red flags and unsafe behaviors. And it's almost like you feel it in your gut, but you don't want to believe it because they're so kind. Unfortunately, the highest rate for trafficking, it does come from someone that you do know. And like I said earlier, it could be a parent or a foster parent. When it comes to peer-to-peer trafficking, those are friendships that can start out as seemingly good, just a normal friendship, having the same interests, liking the same things. But then at some point, your friend begins to look more like an unsafe person. And that's when they start to really push your boundaries.
Hey guys, it's Sugar Icy here. March is Women's History Month. Here is speaker and podcast guest Rita with the story of an amazing woman of history.
Maya Angelou was an African-American author, dancer, actress, and civil rights activist. Her life story is an amazing tale of strength. After being brutally attacked at the age of 7, she refused to speak for 5 years. An incredible irony for a woman who's known for the power of her voice. Her first biographical work, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, brought her recognition that continued throughout her life. She's well known for many things, including her work for civil rights both in the US and around the world. She celebrated her blackness and her femininity without hesitation, without apology. She read her poem On the Pulse of Morning at the inauguration of Bill Clinton. One of her most famous poems ends like this: out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from the past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Thank you.
We'll go into what grooming is. And grooming is the intentional process of preparing someone for a particular purpose or activity. So there are a few steps to that. With grooming, there is a cycle of violence. There's a honeymoon stage. Everything is great. There's a slow escalation. You can start to kind of have a little bit of like conflict, but nothing big. And then it comes to like an explosive episode, and then it goes back to the honeymoon stage. And so with the grooming stage, traffickers use a lot of psychological manipulation, deception, physical violence. And so when they're targeting someone, they're going to look for someone who has a noticeable vulnerability that they can exploit. And that can be low self-esteem. If someone's run away and they need money or a place to stay or a ride somewhere. It could be someone that doesn't have emotional support at home, or just any kind of emotional support, any kind of support. And so this person wants to feel loved, valued, or cared for. Once they've got a target, then they go into gaining trust and information. Traffickers tend to get their information from, social media. If you have a profile that is not set to private and it's open to the public, and, you tag your friends, you tag where you go. And so here's this person who takes an interest in you, and they're looking at your social media. Where do you go? What do you like to do? Who are your friends? And you're tagging your friends. And so if you're tagging them, then this person can also go and look at their profile. And if their profile is in private, then they can too look into their interests and kind of find a connection to kind of make their way in there to a casual conversation with you or your friend. I feel like we're honestly all guilty of that. I'm guilty of that, where like you're curious about someone, or someone's new in your school, someone's new in town, or you have a crush on someone, and you're just like, you look up their Facebook, you look up their social media to see like, oh, like, do we have any interests? So, something that can be so simple and, that doesn't start off maliciously, it can really become malicious when it's in the wrong hands. And so when we look at what we post, someone can gather a lot of information quite easily. And so that's what makes people a target. But the one in particular that I did want to kind of focus on is the football player. And so, he looks like someone that has high self-esteem. What could he be vulnerable about? And so, well, it's a few things. Maybe he doesn't have support at home. Maybe he comes from like a single parent household and his mom works 2 jobs, or dad works 2 jobs, and he's alone a lot. And so he's with friends. He could be posting, that he doesn't have support, or like he, feels he can't trust anybody. And so, here he is posting on a social media posts that show this person that needs a friend, honestly. And so, his picture, he's got a jersey on, his number, where he goes to school. So these are all things that can make people a target.
Hey guys, it's Jade. Last week in the library auditorium was Melanated and Educated's first ever Black History Month celebration. Lots of people are there, including me and podcast host Alonga, who recorded this interview live at the event.
Hey guys, this is Alonga live at the Black History Month event. This is my friend Victoria. She will tell you guys what's happening out here, what you guys are missing.
Yeah, so thank you for everyone coming to the Black History Month. Live here, we had a great time. We had some speakers, we had a poet, we had our flag walk, we had the best dress. Me and Alonga, we were in the top 5, but we didn't get it. But it's okay, it was so fun. We danced a little bit at the end, and we got some cake. Thank you.
Thanks, Alonga. Hopefully this is the beginning of a long tradition. In which case, we'll see you next year.
Some vulnerability statements like, nobody gets me, I'm so sick of being single, I'm ugly, or like my life sucks, like I can't wait to leave home. Malicious people hear that, traffickers hear that, and they are going to finesse their way in there, and they're going to come in and try to be your hero, by saying they understand how you feel and trying to uplift you and encouraging you to like take risks. And, it's like, oh, you're an adult, you can do whatever you want. So trying to like get their way in there. Some of my vulnerability when I was in high school, my boyfriend at the time was 29 and I was 17. But he was someone that was very well known in our town. He was a firefighter. And so a lot of people trusted him and I trusted him. And the adults in my life didn't really think it was anything off because he was a good person. And so, what made me vulnerable was the fact that as a child, I had been sexually exploited by a cousin. And it really took a toll on me. I was very secretive about it. I didn't say anything. And so I had low self-esteem and I wanted to, be someone that was mature and I wanted to feel loved. So yeah, that definitely, that put me out there for, as a target for someone that's older to come in and say, I can take care of you. I can protect you. Going on from that, social media is a very, very big platform for traffickers. As I mentioned earlier, when you have your Instagram and Facebook profiles and they're not private, people can look at it. And so, starting at small conversation is easier on social media. You can go into someone's DMs and say, hey, I like your posts, or hey, you seem really cool, or they'll comment on your stories. And 3 out of 4 victims are trafficked online. And that includes like gaming sites like Fortnite and Minecraft. So, you have a lot of young kids that are on these social media platforms, not just like high school kids, not just adults, like you have like 10-year-olds and, they think that like anybody can get on a gaming site. And so anyone can say that they're, 10 years old when they're behind of a computer because no one can see them. And so then these relationships start online. And so once a trafficker has noticed your vulnerability, once they have made their way into your life, then they're going to go into filling a need. And filling your need, again, it could be whatever it is. You feel like you're going to be alone forever. Well, here they come. I want to be with you. You're wonderful. You need a place to stay. I can provide that for you. I have an apartment. I live alone. If you are someone that is struggling with, drugs, it's something for whatever reason, you're curious or you want to try some, that's a vulnerability because now here's this trafficker who's like, oh, I can hook you up. I have this. Do you want to try it? And so now you have this window, this door of opportunity to fulfill that want of trying, to get high, it could be something as simple as like trying alcohol because you're 15 and, you want to like pay an adult some amount of money to like be able to go into a liquor store and get alcohol for you, or trying to get a cigarette from someone. It doesn't have to be like a hardcore drug. It doesn't always start off that way. It's the small things, it's the curiosities.
Hi guys, it's Rebecca. The Guadalupe Summit was February 24th. And I just want to talk about what happened, my experience as a first-timer going, and just what we did in general. So Ms. Vallejo and Ms. Castillo came with us, also Ms. Pettit and Ms. O'Connell. It was very exciting to go for the first time. It was at a church called Resurrection in New Albany. And it was really cool because a bunch of other schools came, maybe some like Bishop Reedy, Bishop Watterson, DeSales, and etc. A bunch of other schools also came. And we just all kind of, as a community of Hispanic Catholics, we had small groups where they divided us into like 20 groups, and we all got to talk about topics regarding just like being Hispanic and just celebrating life and celebrating our culture together. A lot of speakers came. 3 speakers were there, which was Father Kenneth, this other speaker who was a lady from Dominican Republic who immigrated here when she was 17, and another lady called Jackie, and she was a news anchor here in Columbus. She's a news anchor for Channel 6, and they all came and talked to us about their experiences as Hispanics and building a career up, and just their mentors as while they were growing up, and just advice to us as young adults. We also celebrated Mass, which was also very cool and exciting, and yeah, we just had a really fun time. And if you're Hispanic and didn't go this year, there's always next year, and I hope you can join us.
So once a trafficker inserts themselves into your life in a major way, they're going to try to make you cut ties with family or friends, and they're going to get you to be isolated to the point where, you know, you almost feel like you can't talk to your friends or your parents because you're like, well, you know, I did X, Y, and Z, and they're probably going to be mad at me. And so traffickers will plant the seeds of mistrust. They lay the foundation for mistrust in others. You know, something simple as like, you know, your parents treat you like a kid, your friends are unreliable. And so that leads into abuse and control. Once they have the victim doing what they want to keep them doing what they want. So a trafficker is going to start you off in one way, and once you're going in that direction, once you're going down that road, they're going to want to keep you like that. And so they're going to assert their power over you. And so the way that they maintain control of their victims is through the use of, you know, threats and intimidation. And so sometimes these kind acts, you know, that are given to you by this person, you know, they're going to want repayment. And they're like, well, you know, that can include sex. It could be, hey, go do this for me, you know, and like, you know, like that's your way of like paying me back, like we'll be even. That brings me up to the next topic of, you know, where does that picture go when you push send? You know, part of the grooming process is, you know, besides, you know, you're exploiting somebody, you're using blackmail as part of your coercion, as part of them coercing you into going along with the plan that they have for you. And so something to remember is that if you are a minor and you are sending explicit photos of yourself to another minor, you will both get in trouble. That is something that you will both legally be responsible for, because one is sending what is considered pornographic photos of minors, and then the other one is holding onto these photos. And so if you're underage, you would still be held responsible just as much as an adult would. It's not even just something, exploitation and traffickers, they don't just exploit and harm others physically. They do it through blackmail, through shame and guilt. And so, you know, the FBI says that they can't get those back. Those photos, once you put them out there, they are not retrievable.
Hey everyone, it's Ava, and I'm just here to talk to you guys about the optional masks now. That happened on March 7th, and I don't know, I think it's very interesting because towards the end of my sophomore year, we were sent home and we never came back. And then when we did come back, we had to wear masks, and we've been wearing masks for a while now. And I think it's like good that we get that alternative option now, of wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, trying to get back to some sort of normalcy. I think that it's a little bit scary for me. I know it's going to take me a little bit longer to take off my mask just because I've I've seen a lot of people pass away. I've heard about a lot of people passing away. And I don't know, for about 2.5 years, I feel like I've been living in this state of wear your mask, keep people protected. So everyone just make sure you're staying safe.
The signs of someone that is, being exploited, it could be anything from, new habits like drugs and alcohol, whereas they didn't do that before, being isolated from friends and family when they were actually very family oriented, violent outbursts or sleep disturbances, the inability to maintain focus, or having an over sexualized behavior that wasn't there before, or someone who may have more flashy things than they did before. And so it seems like a little odd, like, they have a new boyfriend or a new girlfriend and they have like all these nice things all of a sudden. Sometimes the signs of physical abuse, burn marks and bruises or cuts, unexplained absences from school, being withdrawn if they played sports and now they're just like not into it anymore. And, they're just like, they feel not only withdrawn, but almost like they're isolating themselves from other people. And, experiencing homelessness, having a disjointed family, which leads to, someone running away or living with friends, which then leads to experiencing that homelessness that makes them vulnerable. And so how can you protect yourself? Build healthy relationships, practice internet safety, do not have your profiles on public, keep them private. Don't just accept anyone's, friend request if they send one. If you don't know them, don't add them. And stand up for the vulnerable, stand up for those who look like they're going through something, but they don't know how to speak up on it. Learn healthy coping skills, whether it is doing arts or sports, keeping those healthy relationships and keeping those healthy balances, and having safe boundaries. If you say no and someone is going against that, that's not okay. No means no, whether it's in the context of you're being forced to do something against your will, or something as simple as, I don't want to go to this party. Stop shaming me. No, I don't want to be there to be drinking. Like if you feel out of your comfort zone and you feel like this is not okay, don't do it. And don't be around people that will force you to, be more out there and enjoy yourself more when it feels so wrong to you and it feels unsafe. Always listen to your instinct. And part of developing, safe boundaries and coping skills is being able to look for those people that you can trust. If you feel like it's kind of setting yourself up to have that safety plan, like if you really feel like this person isn't good for you, but you want to talk to someone, have those 3 people, have that one top person or a teacher or, a counselor, someone that you trust, just to be able to reach out to them. It's better to say something than not to say anything at all. And, taking care of yourselves, not just, focusing on school and the things that make you happy and family. And so that's part of building that resiliency before, if you are having struggles, building that resiliency through that rather is important before, getting to a point where someone is now getting into your life and you haven't practiced resiliency. So having those safe people in your life is important.
Hi guys, Ujjal again. We want to thank Iris DeLawrence and Gracehaven for sharing this information with us. And a very big thank you to Social Justice Club and UNICEF Club for making this presentation possible. If you have any questions or concerns about human trafficking, don't hesitate to contact Gracehaven at 614-665-0655 or email at info@gracehaven.org. You can also call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888 or text HELP to 233-733. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time on the Cristo Rey Podcast.